What's up, guys? Rick here with my top 5 fades for this week's AT&T Pebble Beach. This was probably the hardest fades video that I've ever done because I want to fade them all. The field is so terrible, but these are actually the weeks that I think doing a lot of research, knowing a lot of the golfers is so beneficial because it is such a weak field, especially now that Dustin Johnson has withdrawn, that you really got to do your homework and you really have to split hairs. So I do think that there is money to be made this week. So I'm going to walk you through the guys that I'm not as interested in playing as maybe the rest of the industry. And these are guys I might not have any exposure whatsoever to. Before I forget, there are 2 live chats on Wednesday, one of them at 3 p.m. Eastern time. That's the RickRunGood regular live chat, question and answer, all that good stuff. And then 8:15 p.m. Eastern time, the JockMKT Stock Market DFS Power Hour with Joe Idoni and myself. So join me for both of those. They're very interactive. They are very fun, and I appreciate it. So there's that. I think that's it for housekeeping. Let's do fades. Let's start with Brandt Snedeker. And when we get on the West Coast, when we get on Poana greens, I feel like people love to quote the pop stroke that Brandt Snedeker has in his putting motion. And that's all fine and dandy. But the stretch of golf that we have seen from Snedeker over the last couple of months, over the last year or so, has been pretty sour. I mean, we have not seen a top 10 finish from him, a top 15 finish, in fact, in over a year. Last year's Farmers Insurance Open, he has been bleeding strokes off the tee. He's been bleeding strokes on approach. His short game has been better, but even his putter, the thing that allows him to sometimes gain 5 strokes in a single week, he can also lose 3, lose 4, lose 4.5. It's been much more volatile than the versions of Brandt Snedeker that we saw years and years ago. Now, over 40 years old, it just seems like the trajectory for Snedeker is headed in the wrong direction. And he's always a popular guy. He's a great guy, popular in fantasy formats, and especially when you get a field like this where there are a lot of names that people don't know, it is very easy to click the ones that they do, Snedeker being one of them. But I'm going to say exercise caution. Do some research. Maybe consider someone else besides Brandt Snedeker this week. Next up is Tringale, who is $8,500 on DraftKings and apparently catching a ton of steam right now. I mean, there is some type of campaign for Tringale that is probably driving up his ownership, which is pretty incredible. And I guess I understand it. When you do run some models, he pops up well because he's a very good ball striker. He's popped off a couple times, most recently at the RSM Classic. He finished 3rd there. He had another 3rd place finish at the 3M Open. So I get this. But what we have actually found, so statistically, we have found that we are not very good at picking golfers. And when I say we, I mean the community as a whole. And it might just be because of the nature, the volatility of golf in general, and especially in a field like this where, you know, now your $7,000 guys are $8,500, for example. We have not historically, as an industry, been very good at picking guys correctly. So if there's ever someone like this that's catching a lot of steam, you know, could get upwards of 20% owned, which is honestly the trajectory that he's on at the moment. We'll see where it actually pans out. I would just rather play the game theory option and say, okay, what are the chances he kind of wins this golf tournament and burns me? What are the chances he finishes top 5? What are the chances that he misses the cut? And when he does miss the cut, 20% of you are going to eliminate themselves from winning a GPP because at best you'll have 5 of 6 through the cut line. So this is really a game theory play, an argument that in general, we haven't been very good at picking golfers as a whole, as a community, as an industry, and this feels like the ultimate trap spot. So not Tringale for me this week. Joel Dahmen is next up. And here's another guy who is just popular, right? I really like him. I want him to do well. And people are going to find themselves bumping up his ownership further than it should be. I'm already seeing it. So here's where I'm at with Joel Dahmen. First of all, he's in the midst of a bad stretch of golf. 3 consecutive cuts that have been missed. Not only is he missing cuts, but he is doing it in a way that probably doesn't play very well at Pebble Beach. His short game has been bad. He lost 2.5 strokes nearly around the greens at Waste Management. He lost over 3 at the Farmers Insurance Open on the greens. Those are two really concerning things because remember, Pebble Beach is 3,500 square feet greens on average. Very, very small, the smallest on the PGA Tour. You're going to miss these greens. And when you do, you're going to need to get up and down. And the problem is Joel Dahmen has not been able to do that. So, and that's really kind of been one of the flaws of his game for a long time, even when he was making cuts, even when he was finishing, inside the top 30, for example. So to me, this is just a popular guy who's going to be too highly owned for my taste. So I will not have Joel Dahmen, but if he ends up winning it, I'd be happy for him. I'd look silly, but I'd be happy for him. All right, I'm just going to jam these two into one spot. Ricky Fowler, Phil Mickelson. I'm not going to waste a spot for each of them in the fades video. We've talked about these guys all year long, essentially. Phil Mickelson, I understand the record around here. He's been phenomenal. He's got 5 wins. He's spraying it all over the place. He doesn't rank inside the top 140 of nearly any category. Only Jimmy Walker is missing more fairways than Phil Mickelson this season of guys who have played at least 20 rounds. I just not going to take the course history side of this. Ricky Fowler, unfortunately, the swing's trying to come around. Now a year plus into these swing changes. Now he's tinkering with the putter. I was honored to have a chance to interview Ricky for the CBS Sports podcast that I host, the First Cut Pod, before the Masters. And he was telling us that switch to that mallet putter, that wasn't going away anytime soon. I guess we found out anytime soon was last week on Friday at Waste Management, where he actually took his caddy's blade putter and used that for his final round. He ended up missing the cut. I just don't think a guy who tinkers is necessarily one with a lot of confidence, especially in the aspect of the game that Ricky really needs to find success. So I'm just going to lump them both together. And it is basically like, until further notice, it's going to be really hard to invest in either one of these guys. And then finally, Jason Day. And I got to tell you, I don't think I'm going to put a full fade on Jason Day. I actually will probably consider him in like a one and done aspect, but he said some things and we found some quotes, and I credit Eric Patterson for this at EPAC Golf for bringing this to Twitter's attention, to my attention. He has some quotes about playing in the Pro-Am here at Pebble Beach, and he actually likes and enjoys the slow rounds. Remember, they get like 6.5 hour, 7 hour rounds. It's crazy because it takes so long with the amateurs out there normally. And he likes the length of those rounds because he can really spend a lot of time reading putts, playing shots around the green, where he mentioned, on the weekend on the PGA Tour, when they're playing 2 balls, it's almost like a sprint. It's almost like they're running through for him. So he likes to take his time. And this event historically has allowed him to do that. And historically, he's had an unbelievable set of results. Well, there's no amateurs in the field this year. There is no Pro-Am. We are just back to regular tour action, which might not necessarily allow Jason Day to take advantage of the one thing he really, really likes the most about this event. Now, obviously, it's still probably a great course for him because he's been able to play well. But I just wonder if you've had a whole lot of success and now you're playing a tournament that is going to be completely different than what you have had that success with, how that impacts you. Not to mention the fact that he's missed his last 2 cuts, right? I mean, there's just a lot going on here. High risk, high reward. I might consider like an outright bet. I would never probably put him in a DFS lineup. One and done's kind of a different story. So just be aware that's Jason Day's feelings, and I am proceeding with extreme caution and not putting him in any situation where I need safety and security. I'm putting him in situations where I need either win the golf tournament or miss the cut. Like, I want volatility. So that's the way I'm approaching Jason Day this week. And I think that's the right way to do it. There it is. The top 5 fades for this week's AT&T Pebble Beach. Let me know what you think. Tweet me at RickRunGood. Leave a comment below. Best of luck this week, and I'll talk to you guys soon.